Well, running out of food, money and options, desperate Venezuelans are fleeing the country. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of others are calling on President Nicholas Maduro to step aside in what the opposition is calling the mother of all marches. We're going to take you to live pictures now from Caracas. You can see what's going on there on the streets. Now, despite everything, Maduro is digging in his heels. We're going to come back live to Caracas in just a moment. But first, Mobin Nasir's report.
A 250,000 Venezuelans calling for President Maduro to step down. The opposition is calling this the mother of all marches, and its leader insists it will force President Maduro out of office.
Maduro will have no other option, nor his regime, nor his government, his dictatorship, than to have to accept election.
But so far, it's only desperate citizens who've been forced to leave. According to Human Rights Watch, the number of people fleeing to neighboring Brazil increased fivefold between 2014 and 2016 to nearly 100,000.
Food scarcity, medicine scarcity, and the lack of most basic medical care of the Venezuelan population has caused an increase in emigration, not only to Brazil, but in the whole of Latin America, the United States, and even Spain.
And they're not much better off in those countries. Rights groups say engineers, doctors, and other professionals are barely surviving, taking any job they can get.
It's surprising to see professional people, Venezuelan engineers and teachers, washing windows in the streets of Roraima.
But homeless families and hungry children are not convincing Maduro to quit. He insists food shortages are artificial, blaming them on the opposition, and accuses the protesters of acting under the directions of Washington, D.C. The president's supporters are planning a rival march, raising the risk of a violent confrontation. And as the chest thumping continues on both sides, the hunger pangs are becoming harder to bear for ordinary people. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Juan Carlos Lamas. He is in Caracas for us. Juan Carlos, you've been down on the streets. Tell us what the atmosphere is like there, please.
Today is another day of protest and clashes here in Caracas and across Venezuela as well. So far, there are reports of 6 people who have been injured by wooden bullets shot by the national police, who stopped them from marching towards downtown Caracas. And there was one man who was shot dead. Now, the opposition has held protests just about every day in the last 3 weeks after the Supreme Court stripped powers from the opposition-controlled national parliament. And despite the fact that these rulings were quickly withdrawn, the opposition members are still fired up. And so far, there are at least 7 people who have died and many injured and many arrested as well during clashes between the national police and the opposition protester as well. Well, right now, the opposition said that the only thing that they have left is to continue protesting, as they believe President Nicholas Maduro is the only responsible of all the crisis here in Venezuela. And also, they say they are not protesting only in support of the dismissal of the Supreme Court judges, but they are also protesting against the extreme shortages of food and medicine, and also with the high levels of inflation that Venezuelans are living nowadays.
We know there are pro-government protests or marches as well. Is it easy to determine whether or not the majority of people still support the government in Venezuela?
The thing is, here in Venezuela, we have 2 different realities. In the morning, we saw how thousands of opposition protesters wanted Maduro out of the presidency, as they blame him as the only responsible for all the crisis here in Venezuela. But at the same time, we have people who still support President Nicolas Maduro and people who still believe in him. Actually, President Nicolas Maduro said that if the opposition continue calling their supporters to take to the streets, he will continue calling his supporters just to show that President Maduro still has people who believe in him.
Juan Carlos Lamas in Caracas, thank you so much for the update.